Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming to the show today. My guests are Desi Bartlett, a past guest, which I really appreciate the additional time. Nicole Stuart and Andrea Orbeck.
Yes.
They have a new book called Total Body Beautiful: The Secrets to Looking and Feeling Your Best at Age 35 or After. How are you guys doing today?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Oh,
I'm doing
it's a
great.
blast.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little interesting, having the three-way here, going, talking to three different people that have different modalities of expertise. And that's kind of where the book came from. Pilates, yoga, strength. How did the book all come about?
Tell.
Okay.
Tell.
So I had this idea. I'm really, really passionate about working with women through transitions.
Yeah.
And I had written a book about pre and postnatal yoga and fitness. And I had the idea of, okay, what about the next transition? What about premenopause and perimenopause and menopause? And how can we bring in all of the different parts of fitness? Strength, flexibility, a little bit of nutrition, all the things. And I've done this forever, and I love what I do, but I knew that there are people that do certain parts of this better than I do. So I thought, well, who's the best of the best? Andrea Orbeck, best trainer ever. Nicole Stuart, most creative and like really gifted Pilates teacher that I know. So I called them up and said, hey, would you like to collaborate and be of service to women? And I'm so lucky because they both said yes.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys get out of the book so far?
Good question. I think what it is it's an affirmation that if you collaborate, there's a lot of answers in collaboration. And then if you find like-minded people, which is something we also talk about in the book as a valuable motivator, then that is something that appears in your life too. And so I think that we found that in preparation of the book, and then we kind of espouse that within the content that I think readers will take away.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. And when is the book coming out?
We just found out.
We just got a new date.
Everyone's looking at each other.
Well, before we got here, so originally it was delayed, and then now it looks like it's October 27th. It will be available for purchase.
End of the month. There you
But
go.
it is available now for pre-sale.
Pre-sale,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
On Amazon and Kindle.
Amazon, Kindle, Target, Barnes and Noble.
Oh wow! Are you planning on doing any tours post release?
I think so. Yes.
There's been a lot of invites. And so like the readers of our book, everyone is busy. Everyone has full lives. Everyone is a mom. Most of them are. And so we're just kind of collaborating on the invites and then finding out what we can fulfill.
So as a business travel show, I like talking to people that travel. And I'm always talking about nutrition and staying busy while you're on the road. If I'm on the road for 16 days or 18 days in a row, if I don't exercise or eat well, boy, it hurts when and that's like, I feel like I'm starting all over, especially in my advanced age. Will the book help with that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, a resounding yes. And the only reason why I say that right now is the last year of my life has been very busy. So shameless name drop, don't fall on it. But Julia Roberts is a client of mine and we're very close. And I've traveled with her extensively this past year. Right. And so while I was away, also doing research while I was with her, it kind of focused on how you can do those things while you're away. It's just a continuation. Geography is just... There's no difference. And so the reason why it's so beautiful with all of us is you can do yoga anywhere. You can do Pilates anywhere. Fitness is available to you. You just have to be creative. And if anything, the COVID taught us that over the last 2 years of the pandemic, that it doesn't matter where you are, as long as you're consistent doing the same thing. The results are, doesn't matter.
Keep moving, no borders. As Desi always tells
me. Yes, that's brilliant. Keep moving.
Yes. Yeah, our bodies were designed to move. The muscles, the bones, the tendons, we should be moving. We should be moving through a full range of motion as much as we can. And I'm just, again, I feel so fortunate to work with these women because we all lift each other up and it's all complementary. And in an industry where people don't always get excited about collaborating or sometimes step in front and say me first. Yeah. My joke is that we always say after you. So it's really beautiful.
Yeah, it really
go.
is
No,
beautiful.
you can do. You go.
Yeah.
You go.
Well, I was thinking, you have a lot of clients that do travel.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever set them up with, hey, here, like on Mat Pilates, do you ever hey, do this every morning, or the yoga, the meditation, the strength?
Always. I mean, back in the day, I made DVDs, you know.
Yeah.
God, I dated myself. But and then eventually turned it into an app so they could take that with them. And I still have one client who travels a lot. And every time she comes back, she's like, I did your app while I was away, or I did a few minutes of Pilates. And I, like Andrea too, was able to travel a lot with Kate
Right.
Hudson for the whole beginning part of her career. So traveling and working
Same.
out was always a big staple of our foundation throughout the course of, like, I don't know, 20 years.
Which is
I
just
was
same thing
lucky
with
enough.
nutrition, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I find when I travel, the hotel food at the bottom it's so convenient, and then I look
Mhm.
and I'm like, no, 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 no.
Yes.
God, I guess I'll eat that.
Hmm.
Do you ever talk about planning meals and trying to get ahead of that?
A couple of times we were on like a very strict diets,
Yeah.
you know, where we weren't allowed to, you know, get the normal Starbucks and, you know, so
Yeah.
on. But usually, and I would say 99.5% of the time, Kate's a really healthy eater. And I don't really need to tell her what to eat. She pretty much knows, you
Okay.
know. But other clients, absolutely, because they don't know. So
Yeah.
if they don't know, you know, I'll talk them through it. I'll coach them through it
Well, you know,
before
like
they leave, you know, like, you
Mhm.
know, not to order the corn dog on the hotel
what?
menu, or,
No, I'm kidding.
or, you know, the fried chicken fingers and chicken
Yeah.
tenders or
Hmm.
whatever. You know, I mean, the people I've been working with a long time.
Yeah.
So we always talk about the
How
do's and
easy is it
don'ts.
between convenience versus I just need to fill something, put something in my stomach? 'Cause that's what I find. I mean,
Mhm.
I travel a lot, and
Hmm.
it's just like some places I go to don't have great food. So you really have to make a conscious choice of getting the chicken without the fried part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or I mean, everybody has salads now,
Yeah.
and you know,
Mhm.
whether it's iceberg lettuce or romaine, always oil and vinegar, you know, as opposed to the ranch or the Thousand Island
Yeah.
or the I think if you're creative and you can really get knowledgeable about what's good on those hotel menus or wherever you're at. Or
Right.
I don't, you know, I know that there's not sweet greens everywhere, but I also feel like in today's society there's more access to better food.
Absolutely. And it's great when you have the opportunity to take advantage of local fare.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So we moved to Hawaii 2 years ago, and my palate has completely changed. So when you're traveling to these different places, if they're known for something that's organic and wonderful, I
Yeah.
think it makes sense to take advantage of it,
So moco loco on the daily, right?
right?
And planning ahead, if you know where you're going. My job with
Yeah.
a client, that if I'm traveling with them, my job is to look ahead. And that's not necessarily, that's afforded to everyone. We have the internet and
Mhm.
we have the
Yeah.
phone. And if you know you're staying in a certain demographic, even if it's a sacrifice that it costs you $4 to have Uber Eats bring you a salad that you maybe necessarily won't go to,
Yeah.
you can override some of the nastier items on a menu and know that if you're in a certain vicinity, you can get, grilled
Absolutely.
versus deep fried. And so usually we're afforded, we just need to spend a little time investing, and then, you can. But then also too, like when you think about like the 80%, really good eating, and then the 20% complement of cheats, if then you're stuck, at least you file it under a cheat. So if
Yeah.
you are eating that and you're like, it could have been better, like the economy of calories, you pay for it. Then the next
Mhm.
meal is a really good salad, and then that's what you do. I think there's a way. You just have to agree to
Well,
find it.
and I've been sticking with, at least in my own head, better is better. Like if I eat a little bit better, if I have three better meals,
Clever. Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
better's better
Yeah.
than just giving up and
Hmm.
just saying, forget it.
Throwing in the towel.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Just
Mhm.
so that a path doesn't become a
yeah.
ditch.
Yeah.
You
Right.
definitely can return to solid ground by just
Right.
getting back as quick as you can, and understanding it's not the be all end all. It's not like you're going to wake up and, need an angioplasty. You just kind of have had to.
We hope not.
Oh,
No,
God forbid.
no, God forbid. So, there are answers.
Yeah.
It's,
I
but,
agree.
I was going to tag on to what you were saying. Whenever I went into a small town or somewhere, I would go on Google immediately and find the vegan restaurants,
Yeah.
because there's usually always a vegan restaurant somewhere, whether It's, not like the fanciest or the best, but there seems to be, and even more so now,
Mhm.
today, there's always, so I always would take that time and
I've
be like, oh,
interviewed
I
a few
found this.
vegan eaters, and I just interviewed a bassist, and she said she doesn't consider herself a vegan. It's just the way she eats.
Mm.
Like, so when she goes to a restaurant, the band will say, "Hey, sorry, we're going to this restaurant," and she goes, "Don't worry about me." She goes, she knows exactly what she needs to order. I'll order this, and then just take the chicken out or whatever.
Right.
So for her, it's just a mentality. But she's been eating that way since she was 4.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
long
I
time.
worked with Alicia Silverstone for a long time. And so obviously she's a very dedicated
Yeah.
vegan. And I think it really does become a lifestyle. It becomes part of who you are.
Yeah,
And so you take that wherever you go.
that's just the way it works.
And I think with that is a language as well that you start to learn to be able to not apologize or say what you
Yeah.
need. And so
Right.
therefore, if you go to a restaurant and everyone is ordering
It's not a big
everything
deal.
that once had a face and that's not your philosophy, then you are eating bread on principle and you're eating those
Mhm.
things and those are your convictions,
Yeah.
And so it's just, I feel like people who are consistent with the success of the way they want to look and feel and the choices that they make, you just develop a language with boundaries and
Yeah.
it happens for you. And then it gets easier and easier. And then you can go into any environment and have that serve you, which I think, yeah, we have all done. And you must as a traveler too.
Yes. And I definitely have my cheat days.
So do we.
So do
Yeah.
We do,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
And we encourage it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I better's better. That's what,
Better is
Right.
better. I
Yes.
mean, we're gonna steal that hashtag, but it might be
All
yours
yours.
already.
All
But
yours.
we're gonna borrow
Bumper
it.
stickers.
Just
I love it.
pre-release.
Well, it makes me like I just don't get down on myself. Like when I sit there and go to the gas station, I'm stopping. I'm like, okay, I can put another 5 hours of driving in, but I need something. I'll just, that's not the greatest, but
Yeah.
I've had many
better.
gas station meals, I will admit, because, with all of us in the hustle as well as
Yeah.
being authors, we all have clients. And sometimes you're on the road and then sometimes you're not afforded that luxury and you drive from client to client. And if you can't do that, you gas up. I mean, I've taken apart a tuna sandwich and not eaten all the bread and just
Right.
eaten the inside
Yeah.
and then a side of water and away you go. And at the end of the day, it's not like your body knows where you got it.
they don't.
You
care.
then know you have your your macros and all the nutrition that you need, and so and a full tank of gas, really.
And
Win-win.
yeah, definitely. So I lived in LA for many years and I used to work out at Gold's Gym.
Yeah.
And there was a wonderful woman there. Her name was Shannon Yorton. She's a bodybuilder. She's actually second generation bodybuilder, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
Her dad was well known, but she's one of the founders of Quest Nutrition
Okay.
and makes those bars. I think they've sold since, but she's someone who I admire and I know her work ethic and I know what she puts into her body and I know how hard she worked on that. And you can find it at any gas station. I know I sound like a commercial right now, but it's just delicious and easy.
Oh, that's right, the Quest bars.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and learning to read a label. I know
Yes.
we're very much getting onto the topic of nutrition, but
Yeah.
it's being educated. And if you just merely look at the label, you'll know what you should avoid. And
Mhm.
all you need is a simple tutorial about what's good for you and, find it.
I have a question about why did you pick after 35?
So again, getting back to the idea of transitions for women,
Yeah.
our bodies change. We have several different bodies through the course of our lives. I think it was Wayne Dyer who talked about he had a baby body and a child's body and a teenager's body and an adult's body and then an old man's body. And he's going through and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's really, really true. And for women, we have this additional layer of having babies and what it looks like afterwards
Yeah.
and then pre and post
Absolutely.
menopause. So it's really that transition into pre and post menopause and how our bodies change from the inside out. Our hormone levels completely change.
Yeah.
And just for a moment, kind of going back to nutrition, what do we need to do differently? Now we have to actually educate ourselves and learn about macronutrients and micronutrients, iron, calcium, all that good stuff. If you want to feel good, we're here for you. We've
Mhm.
done all this work for you and we'll share those secrets.
I'm gonna let you know what's coming.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And I was thinking the same thing, like because probably at 35, if you're gonna have a baby, most women would have a baby, but then you get busy with the children,
That
right?
us.
Yeah, except us three.
No, I know. No, I know. Yeah.
I'm teasing. I had my second child at 42.
Yeah.
I'm 51 now. Some women go into premenopause at 35. Some women have babies much later. It's
Absolutely.
always different.
But it seems like when the women they tend to now become about the child, and they kind of forget about their own exercising, their own nutrition. I think that's where your book's really going to help.
I think it's hard, immediately after you have a child. I know personally speaking, it took me about 2 years to sort of,
Yeah.
really get back to where I was, and not just physically, but mentally. So, I think had I had a book like this, I think it would have been a great help.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that is where it's going to help people.
I think the information and the support. So the book provides the ability to know what's going on and to translate, but then also to have the support of the other things that can show up at any age. But 35 tends to be the marker where we really take inventory and start to see the changes and feel the changes. So the content of the book, the reason why it was nice to have a trifecta is because we were able to approach it from this whole holistic principle, not only of physical and range of motion and strength, but then how do you feel and the things that you go through. And sometimes, a book will be all fitness and then they won't talk about sexuality or mentality or how you feel. And so in, supplying everyone with the support of that, I think is going to be beneficial. I wish I had it too, simply because you can have one thing and then be missing another. And we could have even filled it with more chapters, but we decided we would just give, round one of this information. And I think there's going to be room for more. Just there's so much more.
40, 45, 50.
Yes, and there's just it's phasic. It really is. Yeah, it really
It
is
is, yeah.
phasic. And there's things that you consider that you start to experience at 35 that just get tantamount later in life, and then you need more information and translation. And the medical community, are such a blessing, but sometimes they're not there because they dismiss the symptoms and what's going on. And you can talk to a physician and, they call it like the white coat syndrome.
Yeah.
You're going to go and speak to your doctor about, I feel this way and these are my experiences and I look this way. And sometimes, proverbially speaking, they feel like they just get a little pat on the head and say, out you go,
the
that's
door.
just normal.
Right.
And we're learning to have a voice, and that's not okay. And, people need to be supported through that rebellion a little bit. Not that the book is rebellious, but it is more of a shield than a sword.
Here, here.
I like the rebellious part.
Yeah, yeah. That's why we look like Charlie's Angels on the front, I think.
Well, if you were starting to do the
We've
the
taken a lot of,
poses.
you know
We
what?
have
We've
some.
been prompted. Yeah,
We've practiced that,
prompted.
Shaz.
Yeah, we've taken a lot of photos. Yeah, I think it
Okay.
rings bells.
So here's the completely unimportant question. Who decided who stands in the middle, the right and the left?
I think we took the pictures
Yeah.
with all of us in all the different positions,
Configurations.
actually.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
We just were
I
playing
think
around.
I
Yeah.
think we landed on this one. We were given a couple.
Okay. So were you all together there, or were oh, okay.
we're
We
together
really
there.
were together.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, that was taken when we shot the book, and so we shot all of our sequences and stuff. So it was perfect because we were definitely in the mindset of movement, and it was not a superficial day. It was,
Exercise.
we worked that day.
We actually worked out the
we
whole
were really,
day.
Yeah, we were working that day exactly.
Was that the before or after the workout,
Did we do that
or during?
before?
That's a good question. I'm going to vote after. I know that I shot
I
my
almost think
sequences that
after.
morning, and then you had it there. Yeah, that's after.
Because that's a little too good.
Well, we're gonna take that compliment. But
Thank
but
you.
we also,
Yes, thank you.
yeah, but we applied what's inside of it too, and so that's
Yeah, it helps.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
Is
air
it-
touching.
Is it? It's not your first book. Is it your first books?
I
Okay.
have done only collaborations with other fitness authors, but this is the first time that I was able to actually have my face on the front, not just my name on the inside. So I'm really, really grateful. Yeah.
Is,
Yes.
is it pretty exciting? I mean,
It's very exciting. Yeah, it's cool. It's something, I think I've always dreamed of.
the way I look at the book is, you each get to individually help people, like you genuinely are helping others with their lives, and that's like my wife's, who's a Pilates instructor.
Mhm.
That's what she gets the most out of.
Yeah, it's
I
the
mean, I mean,
best.
she loves helping people. And she's had elderly people, they can't move their shoulders, all of a sudden they get range of motion back, that type of thing.
Oh,
but now with the
amazing.
book, your potentiality of helping thousands, if not millions, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, yeah, it's special. It's incredibly special. It's pervasive. You actually feel like it's a timeless decision that you
Yeah.
can make that doesn't disappear.
That
It's
that book will be on
accessible.
shelves forever.
We hope so.
Y espero en
Yes.
español también.
Ah,
I hope we can get it translated into Spanish as well.
yeah.
My first book was translated into Korean, which was super cool.
Oh, neat.
So you kind of never know where it's going to be
Yeah.
taken and where the message is going to land. But I'm super excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
think of the women, literally the potentiality of being helped around the world.
Mhm.
And you'll be helping women everywhere.
Well, our intentions and dreams will be fulfilled if that
Yeah.
happens.
Yes.
Because, not even from being just the monetary aspect of a book or even the, being able to be a published author, which is a thrill unto itself. I think being able to honestly have people give you the feedback that it touched them and impacted them.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it. When what you do and your intentions are brought forward, it's magic, I think.
Absolutely.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, like I always say, if I can help one person,
Yeah.
then I feel like I've done my job, you know?
Mhm.
And
And-
that's
and
always
now-
a blessing.
It's getting out. And then maybe we'll get more apps. Not I was going to say DVDs, but
Yeah.
We're hoping to organize a retreat as well in Hawaii.
that's what I was going to say.
Mhm.
What's next?
Hawaii.
Yeah,
Hawaii.
That's
Well,
we have to
that's-
get them to jump on a plane.
But you have to do it in Kauai, so you have to travel too.
Kauai. Oh, yes, of course.
No, of course. I think that that's a natural progression too. Like when you have content in a book and people want to resource all the things that you set up in the table of contents and stuff, then it does naturally, evolve into other accessible modalities. But we did do that. So while in the beginning, while we were researching the book, we would get together on a Sunday and then each take 15 minutes. And people could get in contact with us and watch live, and then we would do little snippets.
Nice.
And I love that because it honed in on what are out of everything we're doing, seems to be the most valuable thing for the book. It helped me a lot to decide what I wanted to.
To go forward.
Yeah.
And we
mhm.
had people join us from all over the world, from England, from India, like
Yeah.
you name it.
It was so
Africa.
fun.
Africa,
And it was
yeah.
just
That's
so
cool.
so cool. So that's when it really sparks it. When you realize, it's going to land places that you just never know.
That just being at your own little home studio or your local
Your
city,
living room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it was living room all through COVID.
Mhm.
So how great.
That's what I was going to ask
It's
you
a
too.
blessing.
Was the book was it thought of before COVID hit, or was it because of COVID that?
Right before.
Right
And-
before.
About 10 minutes before.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, literally
And it got
was,
approved
yeah.
like the first week
Mhm.
of COVID, like
Mhm.
after the shutdown. She had approached me like maybe 2 weeks before, and I said
Mhm.
yes. And then we had our meeting with Michelle, talked about what we wanted to do, and then it got approved, and then COVID. It was just so crazy. And I thought, wow, this is the best timing ever, because we
Yeah.
have the time now to really focus on this. And it really was a savior, I think.
That's. I mean, I always try and talk to people because all the business travelers I talked to got affected by COVID
Mhm.
Yeah.
more so
Oh,
than
right.
I think others. I mean, musicians stopped working.
Mhm.
Entertainers stopped working. Business people, I stopped traveling. So it was like, all of a sudden I've got time. Like, what
Yeah.
do
Right.
I do with it?
Yeah.
So that seemed like a really good,
It was perfect.
use of time.
Yeah.
You
And-
couldn't have planned it better. I mean, it was genius.
So it was
Mhm.
your faults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. We're
Worldwide
sorry.
shutdown.
But we did get
Just
a
get your
book.
book.
There is a
Yeah.
book. So
All that matters.
And so
that's-
you mentioned Michelle. Michelle's our acquisitions editor at Human Kinetics, the publisher.
Okay.
And interestingly, our publisher is in Southern Illinois. And that's exciting for me because I'm from Chicago.
Okay.
So they are a brilliant publishing house for a lot of academic books. They're very present in universities. So I feel really, really happy that we're working with a company that's all about the efficacy of the fitness and the
Yeah.
Pilates and the yoga and
Mhm.
the science of it.
Mhm.
And so I've actually gone back to school within the last year. I'm getting my PhD.
Wow.
And on the side of the books that I'm reading now, it says human kinetics. I'm like, we have one of those too.
Yes.
I got
So
that.
that's cool.
It edifies the content that it's very research based.
Mhm.
And when we
Yeah.
did all this extensive research, there was a lot of citations. And that felt good to be able to discover that and deepen it and then reference it and then translate it into lay terms or at least fun terms so that it, you don't fall asleep by chapter 2. And it's just really entertaining. You know, I thought that we did a really good job with being able to make it legit and funny.
Well, okay.
It is. There's
Well,
no,
we
there
share
are.
a lot of, I think, personal stories
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
client stories as well. So it's not just science,
Yeah.
we break it up. I think we make it relatable.
Yeah,
I
well
think
said.
that's as personal trainers, that's your number one job. But you guys have the knowledge of how to the delts, the lats, this and that. You know
Mhm.
how to build it, but how do you relate to so many different people? Because it seems like that's what
Yeah, and can
you
you
have
do
to
it on
learn
a
how to do.
unicycle?
Yeah.
I mean, you
Right.
see,
Right.
chapter 8. No.
Yeah,
Chapter
but to
eight.
your point, there's layers of it, you know. So if I'm talking about the bicep, bi, to sep, head, how does it work? We have to work it from 2 different angles. But then I have to make it important to you. Oh, you're a
Right.
mom. You want to be able to lift your baby. So we have to make it
Yeah.
applicable.
Yeah, I think we did that very well.
I think that's the biggest key. Because everyone can just learn the body. I mean, I can
Mhm.
read a book and go, okay, but how do I then share it?
Yeah.
And how do you expand your knowledge too if you're interested in other modalities of
Yeah.
fitness? Because if you do one thing to the extent that you're neglecting another, that shows up.
Yep.
And the segue around 35 and older is that you really start to start to learn where your missing links are, I find. And if you don't make it holistic the way the 3 of us have put it together,
Yeah.
it's going to not be as healthy as you can. And that's another reason why we decided to do this, is because it hasn't actually been done, to my
Yes.
knowledge, in this way.
It has not. And to your point, we often share people that we work with. I don't like the word client anymore because they feel more special than that. And I think that the way that I actually met you back in the day, Andy, was Andy called me and said, I have a Saudi royal who needs yoga. Yes.
okay.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
How'd that work?
So, yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
It really is. But then that's nice because the professionalism and collaboration is
Mhm.
kind of how women need to access their continued success and support.
Yeah.
And we learn that, not that 35 is the marker, but it's when we really start to know that it's valuable and that we keep it for life. And I think that that's
I totally
important
agree
too.
with that. But there was no thought of making it 40? Like, is that, I'm just curious.
Yeah, we played around with it a little bit, but
Mhm.
the science really shows that 35 is that premenopausal threshold.
hmm
What a pain that is.
It can be, but then it can be
Yeah.
offset with things that just translate it correctly.
Yes.
Well, I'm
You
just
know,
talking from a man's point of view. What a pain.
well, and that's why we want
Mhm.
men rather,
Yes,
Yes.
to
men
read
to
it.
read it as a bit of a translation.
Mhm.
If you want someone who's going to be a conduit to what's going on with people in your lives that are affecting, it's good to know.
When's the book out?
To know more about women. Exactly.
October 27th.
October
'Cause I think I'm
27th.
going to need that.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
men should read the book.
No.
I agree. I
I
mean,
think it just gives insight.
are you going to do any pushes for, because obviously it, written by 3 women, how do you get men to, and it says right on there, how do you entice men to read the book?
I think with what we were just speaking about and having insight and understanding into your wife, your sister, your daughter, your
Yeah.
best friend who's a woman, and also something that's not really talked about, men also go through a change. I think it's called, is it andropause?
Menopause? No, I'm just joking.
That's what my wife calls
Yeah,
it.
it's
Andropause.
Andropause.
Yes, and
Where
tend
things
to
shift and
tend to gain more abdominal fat. The testosterone levels go down, and they have their own shift.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to understand just the fact that people change at all around this age. I really want to get that message out to men also.
right.
I
And
totally
if
agree.
anything, I would say that if a chapter in the book inspires a woman to know more about what is going on with her and, helps broker conversations to help other people around her understand, then my job would be done, even if a man were not to pick it up. But if it could engage a conversation where there's most support and understanding and it enriches their life, if it enriches their sex life, it enriches her wellness,
Yeah.
that's affected with her family and her community. I mean, I really feel like it's a pivotal thing to start because we've changed a lot in the over decades about
Yes.
women knowing about themselves, having a
yeah.
voice, and then men understanding it after that. I think that's really important.
Mhm.
I always joke with my kids even. I wish I had the knowledge 20 years ago
Right.
that I have now.
Yes.
Mhm.
You know,
Yes.
I
I
mean,
do too.
Yep.
just to share. I mean, diet, exercise, and all those things that
Mm-hmm.
literally you just didn't know about until you found the internet and YouTube and everything else.
Right.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's amazing to see the changes that happen now.
Yeah, it's all accessible now, which is really a blessing. And I see my 14-year-old sometimes working out with a YouTube video. I'm like,
Yeah.
you do live with a trainer who
That's a
does a
whole.
few things, but okay, cool. But you're absolutely right. It's all at our fingertips. And because we're also on the topic of travel, I think it's really cool to see how it comes from all different corners of the globe.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
Andy's from Canada. I lived in Mexico. Nicole was just in New York. So it can come from anywhere.
And it often is better that way because
Mhm.
you know I always told Mike I wish I knew diet wise what I know now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and, when we talked when we talked earlier about how do you get men to accept yoga or
Mhm.
meditation and then Pilates. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I won't even explain to you. I'm on a reformer next to an 80-year-old woman. We're doing the same exercise and I'm having a hard time doing it.
Right.
It's
And I'm
true.
like,
It's humbling.
but it's all springs and and you can adjust it, but it's just like, oh my gosh,
It's true. I mean, I've had or I've heard from a lot of men that, oh, Pilates isn't that hard, or
Yeah,
it's like wussy stuff. It's not like
Mhm.
lifting weight.
Right.
But any man I've ever trained has said, holy, you know,
yeah,
holy shit, if I'm allowed to say that word. But and they're just sweating and they've never experienced anything at all like it.
Right.
And I wish more men would do Pilates, but I do know more and more athletes
Yeah.
are doing it to help
Mhm.
the
with their
golfers
training.
and a lot
Yeah.
of for the
Mhm.
stretching.
And it's
Mhm.
it's incredible.
Yeah,
It
I
really
mean,
is.
that's hopefully that's where the book gets to more people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be wonderful. I think that it's great. And also, talking about being with your kids and having the content of the book help. What we're also learning with hormones as a community in the medical community, that we have all started to have our children later. And so
Yeah.
for me, having a child in my mid 40s, I have to now think of longevity. And I need to access information because if I am in my 60s, I want to see my daughter get married and have children. And that, so therefore I need to commit to her to actually live to my 80s and 90s for me to have a fulfilling relationship with her. If I don't harness information and apply it now,
Yeah.
there is a point where it's not too late, but it's just the results are diminished really, really, And so that's another aspect that's happening with hormones is we are having babies later, exhibit, A, B, and C. And so there's a lot of women that are doing that because they're delaying, but how the
Yeah.
evolution is changing, they're delaying their career. And so they're having babies later, it's not our mother's pregnancies
No.
or lifestyles or bodies or, sexual libido. I mean, all of those things at one point were, forbidden to even talk about. And now, it should be an easy
That's out
topic.
there, yeah.
My mother told me not to sweat in public when I was little.
Right,
So
right.
slightly
There you
different
go.
message.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
There you go.
there, yeah.
Wow.
That didn't
And-
work out. You became
No,
a
it
personal
didn't. I
trainer.
mean, it made her run right.
Disappointment
It
right
made
here.
her run.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom.
That is true. I hadn't really thought about. It's one of those things like you go back 50 years ago and
Mhm.
women were having kids as teenagers and it was just
Yes.
the norm,
Yes.
and now I remember telling my kids, live life, go do things,
Mhm.
as much as you can, get it in before you have children because it
Yeah.
just affects your life.
Right.
Yeah, I met my husband when I was 30. We got married soon thereafter. But you and I spoke about this before, I believe, on the first podcast. I had just moved back from Mexico to the United States, and I was in LA. I didn't know anyone, and I met him in Vegas. So you kind of never know where life is going to take you.
Mhm.
Yep.
And when the opportunity to begin a family is going to present itself.
Mhm.
And to your point, I think it's also really important to wait for that right person.
Mhm.
And it's pretty cool when travel brings that right person to you.
Yeah. Well, and do you think because you waited, you also got to see more of life, so you kind of knew better what you wanted, right?
Oh,
Oh,
completely.
absolutely.
Completely. The mother that I am now would never have been the mother that I would have been when I was, an athlete or someone going through, education or just starting out my career
Absolutely.
or even doing it in California. This is a good topic to start on too, because in California, it's completely different depending on what kind of aspirations you have and how it just
What you
moves
think,
here.
yeah.
Yeah. And what you think of yourself. And so when you wait, you're just afforded that better foundation.
Well, and how difficult is it finding somebody in LA? I mean, you got 12 million people.
I
Right.
can't even imagine now,
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it was hard back then. And now I think I hear the craziest stories.
Well, that's what we were talking about too. My wife and I about, during COVID, being single during COVID must have just been like, you can't go anywhere. Nothing's open. We're like, take them on a date,
No.
you know,
Yeah, I've heard, I don't
one
know
of
the
those weird things.
statistic, but you do read things about like, depression going up. And
Yeah.
of course, we do know suicide was a little higher in
Yeah.
younger people just because you're supposed to be your most social
Right.
selves. How isolating.
And on the flip side, I think a lot of people had purchased dogs
Yeah.
just to have, a
Company.
friend.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Which is a long-term relationship as well.
Yeah, it's a different long-term relationship. for sure.
And I've talked to people about how they have pets and then they want to travel.
Mm.
And then that's a whole different world
that's
subject.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, wow. That's organization.
Yeah. It just
Again.
goes on and on.
No.
Yeah, I've taken my dog. I have a puppy named Chachi. She's a Pomeranian. She's so cute, but she's very codependent. So I did take her to the Big Island, which was fun. But trying to get all the quarantine papers from Hawaii over
It's
to the
rough.
mainland,
Oh
it's a
my.
lot.
We looked into it.
Oh,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
kidding?
Mhm.
Wow. You don't think of those things.
Yeah. It's rough getting to Hawaii with a dog.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't just show up.
No.
It's like, what, 2 weeks or 4 weeks?
4 weeks in quarantine.
Oh,
What?
Yeah.
Note to self.
Mhm.
Note to self, don't vacation with your dog to
No,
Hawaii
we're no.
or
I-
Australia.
I'll have to break it to them all tonight.
They'll understand.
Okay.
So with this, are you planning any videos or the next level with this book, or is that going to be the next?
we're
Yeah.
working on that right now.
Oh, cool.
Exactly.
We're talking about it and trying to plan that out.
So I just read an article in Forbes about menopause vacations. So you know how there's like baby moons people go when
Yeah.
they're pregnant. So now they're starting to have vacations for menopausal women. So when you have hot flashes and you want to like,
Do they last
um,
months?
no,
Just asking for a friend.
right. So I think that Hawaii and a retreat is sort of like the next logical step.
Okay.
And because I live in paradise,
Mhm.
just turn a camera on.
Yeah.
And then it's very easy for us to create content.
Mhm.
So I anticipate that happening very early 2023.
Oh,
Ooh,
nice.
it's almost 2023.
It really is almost
Goodness.
2023.
Ugh.
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
Right?
Where have we been?
So as a personal question, do you find time getting by faster? Yeah.
Yes.
I just talked with my wife
Absolutely.
about that, and all of a sudden we're like, what happened? Like, it's
I mean,
October.
to me, like months are starting to feel like weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And years are starting to feel like months. It's
Yeah.
just so crazy.
I wonder why that is.
I think it's contingent on the stage you're in and the responsibilities you have.
Mm.
You have to suspend your mind if some things are just automatically piled on, and there's so many. That because my concept of quantum has changed since I've run businesses and become
Yeah.
a mom and had so many clients and going through all these responsibilities. You just become so adept at it, and then you
Mhm.
look back and you go, I just did
100%.
that thing for 4 or 5 weeks in a row, and you just become accomplished, and you don't think about that. You don't measure it during time anymore. And that's another thing though that I feel like, not to segue the book, but you guys do talk about, like, what's the brilliant term that you use about vampire? Talk
Oh,
about the
energy vampires.
energy
Oh,
vampires
yeah.
are and they're time vampires too, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
People
mean-
who just kind of dump everything on you and then don't
Yeah.
ask you how you are. And so what I've been sharing with women a lot recently is to have boundaries with your time. So if a friend is asking you for help, put a beginning and an end time on that. Sure, I can help you Thursday from 5 to 6. I would love to.
Yeah.
So it doesn't become this endless
Not 5
thing.
to 9.
right?
Yeah.
Or all day Thursday.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
But when you were talking about time and how it's speeding up, I'm also noticing that in this like premenopausal phase, not to get personal, I do have a little bit of brain fog. Even though I follow all of this, I live a healthy lifestyle, nutrition, fitness, the whole thing. Sometimes I'm like, what did I do yesterday morning?
Yeah.
It takes a second,
Right.
Yeah.
because time does seem, to your point, to move so fast now.
Yes.
I wonder if that's also post-COVID, because COVID seemed to slow
Slow
it
everything
down.
down. Yeah.
Right. And everything's gone back. Those are very good points. Those are very good points. Mm-hmm.
I noticed I mean, for me during COVID, I don't know, maybe because I was like, for me, it felt that's when it really sped up.
Hmm.
Don't ask. I don't know. But I mean, I don't know.
Perception, I guess. And I guess it's just how you are managing your life
Mhm.
also relates to how fast it's going, you know. But that's good. Maybe that's a good thing. You took kind of stock.
Yeah. See, for me, I feel young until I see my daughters. And then their friends who are getting married and having kids. And I'm like, and my youngest is now pregnant. So I'm going to be a grandpa. And I'm like,
What?
Congratulations.
what? How'd that
Congrats.
happen? Like, what?
But it is a yardstick of where you are,
Absolutely.
because I find that I'm very immature as a person. I still have a very hearty sense of humor, but then I'm dated when I compare myself to other things, and then I realize like women I went to
Yeah.
high school with have grandchildren.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'll go, "Wait, no.
That can't be.
No.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? We just partied to Motley Crue, and then you realize, no.
No.
No, you are no longer invited to that party.
That was
That's not
35 years
even
ago.
that's not happening. So
I just wrote about this on Instagram. I wrote, I feel like my soul is eternally 28 years old,
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
but my 14-year-old is taller than I am and he has to shave now. It's a trip.
It's such a
Oh,
trip.
my.
I always said, I remember still girls I used to coach in soccer, and then I'd see them driving next to me. Hey, Coach Pete. I'm like,
Wow.
whoa, you're driving a car. You shouldn't be doing that.
Wow.
So
No,
that's,
it's surreal.
yeah.
No, it's completely surreal. It makes me joyful that then things keep moving. Oops. And then you're a part of something that evolves. I also think there's something neat to that you can contribute and it keeps going, But then there's also like it makes you think about your own mortality. This has gotten
does.
macabre.
A lot.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
no.
it does, right?
No, I mean, I talked to my therapist about that. I'm like, I think about that all the time.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a trip. And it's also ever since I think I had a child
Mm.
and turned 50,
Yes,
Mhm.
markers, all these
Yeah,
little
yeah.
barometers that make you just see yourself on a timeline now.
Mhm.
Because 30 years ago, no one would have asked me, how do you feel
Oh,
about what
yeah.
it's going to be like? And I'd be like,
What do you
what?
care?
I'm
Yeah.
never going to be a kook.
I'm fine.
Now I am.
And
Well,
here,
it's also-
and
That's
here, and here
okay.
we all are.
And that's,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
I think it's important for us to celebrate this phase of life.
Yeah.
And with women especially, when you're younger, you're sort of like that princess maiden archetype.
Yeah.
And then as you become a mother, it's more of like that queen mother kind of
Yeah.
archetype.
Yes.
And now it's like the wisdom years. But I can see where people would women especially, would kind of step away from like, I don't want to look like a granny.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
saw a picture of Rue McClanahan when she was playing one of the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
She's my age.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm the age of the
Yes.
Golden Girl. But they had that picture. They had that picture next to J-Lo, who's a year older than I am. And I'm like, okay.
I'm good. I'm
Right?
going with that
Things
picture.
have changed.
This is where we're
Yeah.
going.
No,
Yes.
and everything that we've done and all the research that we've done, it's so succinct and timely because
Yeah.
it does speak to that. The Golden Girls were the same age that these three broads on this book are when they filmed,
Yeah.
trying to make a mockery a little bit. And it was a funny show, but really what it did is it translated how women were seen at the time.
Mhm.
Totally
And
agree.
asexual and just all those things, and that's not the case. It wasn't really the case then, but it was very agreed upon then, and now it is simply not at all.
I saw a commercial for a
Hallelujah.
new J-Lo movie this morning. I don't recall the name of it. It was so cute though, because they show her in her underwear, and another actress goes, "Did you get that body from Pilates?" Super cute.
It's like,
She's also amazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I say the same thing. Like I watch shows and the captain from Love Boat, I'm 7 years older than him I'm like Abe Vigoda from Fish. I'm like,
Gavin McLeod.
yeah.
Yeah.
How do I remember? See, I can
I was
remember
like-
things from 35 years ago,
Yeah.
but not yesterday.
Yeah, it's the
We do the
long
same
term,
thing.
short term. I know. But the nice thing is that you can leave a room and come back and then reintroduce yourself to a new friend and no one really remembers.
And you're much more handsome than Abe Vigoda.
What? He was younger than me.
No, really?
And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I always go into well, what do I really look like? Because in my head,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. You look the same.
yeah.
Right.
But then I'm
Mhm.
like, well, I'm Abe Vigoda's age.
I
No,
know.
and so if you're fighting those battles, I think the important thing is like, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because when I still feel great, I have the experience of a very happy person
Absolutely.
who
Yes.
had those things when I was younger, including all things regarding energy and interest and self-confidence and, sexual appeal and interest and all those things are still
Mhm.
afforded to me. So I guess my form might have changed that I'm accepting in little increments along the way. But at the end of the day, when you get, you need to feel good. You
Totally
really
agree.
do.
Yes. Yeah. And how you feel shows up in your physical body and it
Yes.
radiates out.
Mhm. Yes.
Do you think that really helps with the 35 age group? Because I think that's where and maybe I'm wrong. You can correct me. Women are hypercritical of how they look, especially if they're of that age where they're no longer the cute 20s.
Right.
Mhm.
Maybe they're against that motherly, how you said the bodies change. They get hypercritical of, how they're supposed to look or what they thought they would feel like at
Yeah.
35 or 40.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's a good time to have gratitude for your body.
Yeah.
And instead of looking at your abdomen and saying like four-letter words and nasty things or running past the mirror, really saying like thank you. Thank you for housing my
Yeah.
son.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Mhm.
protecting and nurturing and
Mhm.
like bringing forth a child.
Mhm.
And then once we get into that space of gratitude, then going to the gym feels a little bit easier because now it's not, oh, I have to go beat the heck out of my body to fit into those jeans I used to wear. Now it's like, oh, I really want to take care of you because you took care of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I think we have started to learn to close down agreements we once made that we service others in
Yeah.
our appearance. And so when I wake up in the morning and my appearance is direct proportion to its function of who I am and who I'm responsible for and who I love and I'm invested in,
Totally agree.
including myself, I no
Yes.
longer subscribe to another person's interpretation. 30 years ago, definitely
Totally.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely not. And so now it's different and it's better. But then it becomes better when you actually start to have to apply it because you do start to look different. And that's just the truth.
Mhm.
I would,
But I'm
and I
here
would hope
for
they
it.
would get that knowledge
Mhm.
before they hit their 50s or 40s. 35 would be.
When we start to need to practice and to know
Yes.
that it's delayed, it's maybe delayed, those feelings. But if you start to build up the confidence that you're going to apply later, it's just armor. Because the war proverbially speaking is coming, whether you
Mhm.
see it or not. You start to battle how you feel about who you are and how you look and your age.
Totally agree. That's men and women.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It's men and women.
But also, I mean, your lifestyle does really affect that. I believe strong. I mean,
100%.
your exterior and your interior.
Sure.
Like Desi said, if you're taking care of yourself, it comes from the inside out.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've been, I do the same thing I've been doing since I was, 28. I mean, I've cleaned up my act a lot, but always through that whole period, I do the talk and I do the walk, as do these girls, and that's what's in this book, and that's why we believe in it so much. I've always, I've had a bad day, or like Andrea said, had one late night partying to Motley Crue, but the next day I'd be right on the bandwagon of my green juice.
Yeah.
If I'm going to play hard, I'm going to work hard,
Mhm.
back out the hour of cardio I did or whatever it was I did
Yeah.
the next day, just to jump back into that lifestyle,
Yeah.
Mhm.
a clean lifestyle,
I work at the rodeo every year, and it's a 16-day work trip in Vegas.
Wow.
So cool.
It's the people that don't work
So-
16 straight days.
I'm
in
from Vegas.
Yeah, so is my wife.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Maybe
But,
you know each other.
Yeah, I was like,
She wasn't a Pilates instructor back then, but
well, neither was I.
Yeah.
So
she but
Shogun.
now I tell myself in my 50s, I'm like every other night. Like I don't go out consecutive nights because I need that night off.
yeah,
So,
you pace yourself. Right?
Yeah, so I go, okay, I'll go to a concert tonight, but then that night I'm just gonna get some food and relax in the room. Next night I'll go out because there's stuff every night. You can go to the rodeo, you can go do all the everything's going on.
Everything and anything in
Oh,
Vegas,
it's so fun.
But
even back then.
I have to reset myself. I can't
Yeah.
do multiple nights. And all the young people are like, let's go. And I'm like, I'm out. I'm good for tonight. Because I went out last night.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
really a key to taking care of ourselves at this phase of life.
Yeah.
It's recovery. And that's what we've learned about in terms of recovery workouts and stretching and flexibility and yoga and what's it called? Myofascial release, all the things. So taking that one night in between is brilliant.
Well, necessary.
And
Because I'm supposed to be the
deserved,
boss
but,
the next
but
day.
also deserved. We also need to
Yeah.
change our mindset that I deserve to have the recovery so that I can kind of endure the things I want to continue to endure, or I'm going to lose those opportunities too.
Absolutely.
And so, but you also have other aspects of yourself that have been evolved too, where you can watch a show and invest in your mind because we're not so vapid and superficial that it's just go, 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 go. Like when you say the rodeo, that makes me think about like the Calgary Stampede, and I'm an
Yeah.
Alberta girl, and
Yeah.
that's 10 days of debauchery under a cowboy hat.
Imagine that.
And it is so much fun.
Same thing in Vegas, but
Amazing.
bigger.
Same thing, yeah, same cowboy boots, different
yeah.
rodeo. And so it's just so great. And I go every year. So you know how we were talking about a barometer? I've been going every year since I was maybe 8 or 9 years old. And so now that I'm 50, but for COVID, I've never missed a year. And in the old days, you didn't have to rest. You could go and go
Yeah,
and go and go.
absolutely.
And that as a barometer, every single year going to the Calgary Stampede, forget it. 2 nights, 3 nights off. That's the
See,
ratio
see.
for me. And you just, and then you can go at it again, but you just can't endure. But then that said, you offset it by having other aspects in your life that you're now interested in.
Yeah. Well, then I talked to the 20-year-olds and they're like, I didn't go to bed last night. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh,
Right.
I'm like,
yes.
excuse me?
And you're like, but you didn't pay your cell phone bill this month either. And so I have a mortgage.
Oh, I got
Right.
And we'll see you later,
I have much
cowboy.
more
Yes,
stories than
you
that.
know.
Yeah. If Calgary's debauchery, imagine Vegas.
No, indeed. No. No, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like Satan with a cowboy hat.
Yep.
I know.
Oh,
Word.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
even he rests. Even he rests.
I don't think he's there for that 10 days. We'll see. Well, thank you so much. It was awesome getting to know everyone. Seeing you again was great.
Likewise.
I'm excited for the book.
Thank you.
Same.
It's going to be. Do you know what? Is there going to be an audiobook? Because that's how I listen. Because I'm always driving, so I tend to listen to books. When
I
I'm
do.
driving.
I do that too.
Same.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's a natural progression. I think what happens in this world is that this gets, sent out, and then
And then
where
they
it's
say-
required in other areas and other, arenas, then we fulfill.
So the last 3 chapters of the book are all visual, and they're guides
Oh,
as
okay.
to what the actual workouts are. So I
How do you
think
get
we
that?
kind of need a multimedia kind of
I gotcha.
situation so that we have some audio from the first few chapters that people can enjoy and listen to.
Yeah.
But then the rest of it would be very complementary to have a video aspect.
Don't say video.
Oh,
Right.
not DVD.
Yeah, you're talking like
Yeah.
Apps or
online.
just, streaming.
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 Yeah.
There we go.
Streaming.
There we go.
Sorry,
Stream.
I'm dating myself now. So, well, let's go back to that for
At
a
least
second.
I didn't say VHS.
I was just gonna say, do you know how I fell in love with working out? It was a Jane Fonda VHS tape,
Yep.
and that got me into this. So to see,
See, I remember Galad.
Oh,
In Hawaii.
yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Who?
she loved.
Yes.
Galad.
Yeah.
He would do it in
Hey.
Hawaii
Yep.
and the
ESPN.
background, and it was always, and they even had that in Canada, I remember.
Yeah, I
and he
wanted
would
to
always
be
have 2
Kiana.
little hottie
He's still doing
chicks
it, by the
beside
way.
him. Kiana, yes.
Kiana was.
And then there was
Yeah.
other, and then there was the mats,
Mhm.
and then they would go, and the
Yeah.
breeze.
Wow, I have
and,
to
oh, no,
check this
you
out.
have to.
Okay, so now I have
He's
to
an
fess up.
OG.
I wanted to be Kiana. I wanted to
Sure.
be the chick on the beach in Hawaii doing my thing.
And now look.
And
And
now
now
here you
look,
are.
right?
And now look.
So
Looking
So
like
full
this.
you have to
circle
write a
moment.
thank you letter to Keanu and Gilad.
I do. I
Yes.
do, for sure. For sure.
It just took a couple of years.
Right. On the first podcast that we did, I talked a little bit about how I had been on a flight September 11th,
Yeah.
2001. And when I was sitting with myself, I really got into deep meditation and prayer about what I wanted to do in this world and to show up and to be of service and to share my voice. So I'm just going to get a little emotional here because I'm so overjoyed to work with these women, to lift other women and hopefully men as well. So we all thank you so much for the opportunity to share.
Indeed.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
So
it worked
much
out great.
fun.
What's the best way for my listeners to find out when the book and what's going on with everyone?
Well, we have the website is the name totalbodybeautiful.com. We're all on Instagram. Our names are Instagrams.
Yeah.
For the most part. Yours
If you
isn't.
look for us, it's not hard to find us.
Yeah.
We're there.
We're
all
there.
up in your face, knocking on your door. Yeah.
And I'll include all the-
come
all
to
the
you,
links.
Really.
I would like
It's
to
a
believe
pleasure.
we're easy to find.
We're easy to find.
But on
Although-
like Instagram, Total Body Beautiful.
Total
as well.
Body
Yeah,
Beautiful
Total
on
Body
Insta,
Beautiful.
as well as our individual names. And then you can also find us on the Human Kinetics website. There is an excerpt. So if anyone
cool.
wants a sneak peek and like, what is this book about? And these women sound cool. Let me see a little bit more. They can check it out.
Perfect. And all those links will be on my website for the page. So
Thank
it'll
you.
Thank
be
you.
super easy for them to just bounce right over.
Thank you.
This
Thank you
is
so much. I
fun.
appreciate the
Thank
time.
you.
Pleasure's
Yes,
ours.
likewise.
Thanks.